What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we have to discuss how recently Gayle King failed miserably at blaming the Delta plane crash in Toronto on Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE making significant cuts to the federal government to downsize our government. She had a conversation with the Delta CEO about it, and she kept alluding to these cuts, and she was made a fool of, and the look on her face in that moment was pretty priceless to me. But before we get into that, I want to go to our favorite Congresswoman first. Let's see what Jasmine Crockett has to say about DOGE, Elon Musk, and Trump. Here, she's going to discuss and make the absurd statement that planes are falling out of the sky at record numbers, essentially because of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and big balls. So let's get into this right now. And yes, you heard me correctly, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and big balls. That's why planes are falling out of the sky at record numbers, because of these guys making cuts to the federal government, doing exactly what they said they were going to do, and doing exactly what the people voted for. Let's get into this.
Time to wake up, and it doesn't mean that you're a Democrat if you vote democratically.
So this is where I want to get to. Who's the audience to swing some of these states? Is it progressives who understand that their priorities are being crushed, or is it people who voted Republican to whom you say you didn't vote for this, did you?
Exactly.
You didn't vote for Elon Musk and a guy named Big Balls to have your documentation.
Yeah.
How does that message get out there in a way that entire audience hears it?
For the record, I did vote for Elon Musk and a guy named Big Balls, for the record. But let's carry on. Sorry about that.
I think that you're right. Definitely the entire audience. I just don't know how many progressives exist in Matt Gaetz' former district, right? But I do think that there are farmers in that district, farmers that are concerned because they rely upon monies as it relates to USAID and other monies that are now being dismantled. And it means that you may lose your family farm. It may be bought up by a corporate organization. And so I think just having very real conversations, we've seen people who have talked about, well, we don't want you firing the people at the VA, or maybe it's somebody that has to fly all the time and they're concerned because we have a record number of planes literally falling out of the sky because he decided he was going to appoint some guy from Fox to be over transportation. But
that's enough. We don't need to hear from Jasmine Crockett anymore. So the Delta plane flipping upside down is apparently Donald Trump's fault. The helicopter that crashed into the plane in DC, that's Trump's fault. And I believe that charter jet plane from Philadelphia to Mexico that fell out of the sky in the middle of Philadelphia, that's all Trump, Elon Musk, DOGE, and Big Balls' fault as well, right? Completely ridiculous and nonsensical, and we all know how stupid this is. But now let's transition over to Gayle King, right? Because the CEO of Delta made her look very, very foolish when she tried to blame cuts on the federal government on the plane crashing in Toronto. So let's get into this clip right now.
The Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you? And do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gayle. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies. They've committed to hiring additional controllers and investigators and safety investigators. So no, I'm not concerned with that at all.
Ed,
oh, she did not want to hear all that praise and good news. coming from the Delta CEO about Donald Trump and how committed he is to safety. But most importantly, I just want to run this part back again before we continue on. Just look at her head movement when she asks, "Are these budget cuts affecting you?" And he says no. And then Gayle King goes, "Watch this one more time."
Do those cuts worry you? And do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gayle. I've been in close communication with.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm doing too much, but she definitely didn't want to hear that.
Do not affect us, Gayle. I've been in close communication.
Anyways, let's continue on. You know, as I make it a point to state in every video that I've done so far, and some of you know where I'm going with this, I love to bring up these numbers here. I love to bring up these numbers here concerning the fact that 57%, remember that 57% of registered voters view Democrats unfavorably. They review them, or I should say they view them as unfavorable, to which Democrats only have a 31% approval rating across the country. Nonsense like this continues to show and prove why their numbers are so horrible. And nonsense like this, on top of the facts coming from the Delta CEO, is why Donald Trump's numbers are at record highs. And we're seeing the United States shift over to being a more Republican-based country. Don't believe me? Check this next clip out from CNN.
Donald Trump and the Republican Party has changed the electorate. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at party identification, Democrats versus Republicans. You go back to 2017, 5 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. You go to 2021 when Joe Biden was starting out, look at that, 6 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. But look at what's happened in February of 2025. Look at this. Republicans, there are more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats. Republican +2. So Donald Trump and the Republicans have remade the electorate. They've turned some people over from being Democrats or independents to become Republicans. New folks have entered the electorate who are more Republican leaning. And so when you combine that with the fact that Republicans are really, really behind Donald Trump, all of a sudden you get a winning recipe whereby you break the normal rules of politics and give Donald Trump that positive net approval rating when he had pretty much a consistently negative one in term number one. As I said at the beginning, he's copying Frank Sinatra, doing it my way.
As we bring this video to a close, the reason Trump's numbers are at record highs and we're seeing more and more people flip to becoming Republican and going red is because people are finally seeing through the foolishness of the DNC. They're finally seeing and recognizing the extreme hypocrisy, the extreme fear mongering. Every time these people open their mouth, there's nothing objective about them while claiming to be objective. You see it in the mainstream media press every day, from CBS to ABC, MSNBC, we all know about them, CNN as well. These people can't be objective to save their lives, but yet they wear the badge of a journalist and will throw it in your face as if it's something to be respected. These people are not journalists. They're just glorified YouTubers. People are seeing through all of this, and they're just simply sick and tired of it. They've had enough. They've had enough of the extreme hypocrisy. They've had enough of this party, the Democrats, who carry themselves like these benevolent, angelic beings when they are far from it. They are far from it. And this is why we're seeing the turnaround that we're seeing in this country. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.